Everybody, welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV and I'm the editor here at MetaStellar. And with me today is Amira Lutfi, our reviews editor. Hi, Amira.
Hello.
Every Friday, she and I read the top 10 free sci-fi and fantasy books on Amazon, or at least we try to. We don't always get far. We don't read like all 10 of the books cover to cover. We read just enough to find out if we want to keep going. And helping us out today is Alex KOROLOV, my brother, who's read one of the books. So today's list has all the usual suspects: time travel, fairies, witches, psychics, post-apocalyptic futures, you know, all the usual. The link to the article with all of today's reviews is in the description box below, as are the links to all the books. They don't stay free for long, so get them quick. For those who are new to the channel, MetaStellar is an online magazine of speculative fiction. All the content is always free for our readers. We publish original short fiction, reprints, excerpts, essays, and lots of book reviews like these. And we're able to do this thanks to the kind generosity of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much, guys. So let's get right into it with the first book, which is this book that you see here behind me. And it's called To the Sky Kingdom by Tang Qi. And it's a standalone book of metaphysical fiction. So Mira, you read this. What is metaphysical fiction?
It doesn't really fit into any categories that I'm too familiar with, right? For example, like it seems to span like thousands of years, right? The structure is very different from what I'm used to also, but it was cool. It's cool so far, my impression. So basically in this world, it is by metaphysical, that just means that it's about gods and goddesses. So there are 8 deserts and 4 seas and many more regions other than that, but each one of them has its own emperor that is like an immortal god, right? And so each one of them, each immortal person has to undergo some kind of horrible, like serious trial before they can earn their immortal status, right? And so that is what we begin with in the prologue. I don't want to spoil it. I think I actually just spoiled it, so I'll just go ahead and spoil it. No. So basically, the protagonist in the prologue is a mortal woman who is in the Immortal Land with the emperor, right? And he married her according to human law, but he didn't marry her according to the immortal god's law. And his head concubine accuses her of trying to throw her off of a ledge or something, and she injured her eyes, right? And so the emperor himself, he gouges out her eyes for her, and she has to, and it's not true, she didn't, you know, attack the other woman, she didn't do that. He gives her eyes to the other woman, and there's basically a lot of time spent on just how helpless and oppressed she is. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh man, this is really bad. You know, like I felt like this is depressing. This is not what I thought I was getting with the cover, with the title. I mean, the cover does not look depressing, right? It looks kind of like a tough, strong, cool woman, you know? And then we find out that, like, you know, this woman is actually, she's been missing for 200 years. Her immortal family of gods is, you know, worried about her and wondering where she is. And then it turns out that, like, she, you know, that was her trial, basically. And so that's the prologue. I mean, it's it's cool, it's interesting. The issue that I have with it is okay, it's awesome. The issue that I have with it is the writing style is very different from what I'm used to. I'm used to a narrative style that's more emotional, that's closer to the characters. So as you read the descriptions of like the events or the location or other characters, you're getting that description from the perspective of like one of the characters. So you feel like closer to, you know, I think that's called like, isn't that called like deep character or something? Deep character.
Deep point of view.
Yeah, deep point of view. I feel like that's what that is, right?
Yeah, it's when you when you see the world through a character's eyes.
Yeah, and this book doesn't do that. So it feels to me a bit dry, and it's kind of I kind of feel like I'm studying it. I kind of feel like I should take notes with like little arrows about like who's related to who and who's doing what. Yeah, because I think that's because of the writing style that I'm feeling a little bit like disconnected or like kind of not really, I don't know. I think, yeah, it's just not a very emotional writing style, and that kind of pulls me out of it. But it is awesome. So I do recommend it if you want like an awesome book that is not very emotional. But yeah, so there you go.
All right. Next book on the list is something that I read. It's called The Genesis Sequence by Stan C. Smith. And it's the origin story for the Cross Horizons sci-fi adventure series. The other books are $3 to $5 each, and they're all in Kindle Unlimited. So I love this book. So it starts about 50,000 years in the past in Spain. Skye and her sister are two Neanderthals. They're out hunting ibexes, and they're both really scared because they lost their mother a year ago, and they haven't really gotten over the trauma yet. But if they don't come back with game, they'll get kicked out of the tribe. So there's a lot at stake for them, and they take unwarranted risks and wound up attacked by a leopard. And Skye's sister is wounded, and so is the leopard. So Skye's sister goes back to the village, and Skye herself keeps going after the leopard, because if she can bring back the leopard skin, they'll be in good with the villagers, because that'll be something, you know, really worthwhile. Then we jump to the future. So not the present day, but a near future. Lincoln Wodehouse runs a time travel company. He can send robotic drones back into the past through a time portal. The portal stays open for 19 minutes, during which time the drone can send back images and other data. So he's got a project with some researchers with National Science Foundation, and they're sending back this drone to this exact time period where Skye is. And he's got an AI that programs the drone for him, which looks a little bit like a big dog, but metal, I guess. And so he sends it back in time through the portal. And the drone has a fixed area where it does sample collections and sends back data about the samples. And it notices a Neanderthal woman off in the distance. And during those 19 minutes that it's in contact with its home base, and they have the drone call out to the woman to see if they can get her to approach. The woman doesn't. Instead, the woman runs away. So they have the drone finish its sample collection process, send back the data, and the portal window closes. But the drone is left back in time. It's a one-way trip. And the drone has a life expectancy of maybe 10 years or so. And it won't change the course of history because sending the drone back in time created a different timeline. The universe branched off on a new timeline. So there's no paradox issues or anything. And so now we're in the viewpoint of the drone, and the drone's AI takes over and creates a second AI for it to talk to, because the drone was designed to be, a conversationalist drone in case it met somebody to talk with in the past. And it decides to find Skye and have conversations with her, because that's what it's programmed to do. So it chases after Skye, and every time it comes close, Skye freaks out and runs away again. Anyway, the drone saves her life a couple of times when she's attacked by other things, and eventually they get to be friends. I love this story. This just hits all the buttons for me. I like the time travel. I like the drone's personality. I like Skye the Neanderthal. And I'm really looking forward to her getting this guidance with the AI and, I don't know, setting up an empire or something. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the author does with this. So I haven't read ahead. I haven't read the description or anything. But from what I've read so far, I'm really enjoying it, and I plan to keep reading. All right, and here's a little close-up view for you guys of what this. Oh, there you go. There you go. That's what the book cover looks like. All right, and let's switch to the next one, which Alex read. So, The Hidden Prepper by Robert J. Walker. It's a standalone book of EMP survival, and the author has many other EMP survival books up on Amazon, many of which are free. So EMP survival, for those who haven't been reading our reviews and watching these videos every single week, is a super popular genre right now. And it has to do with an electromagnetic pulse that hits an area, destroys all the electronics, but humans and animals and everything else are totally unaffected. So your phone goes dead, your TV goes dead, but nothing else is harmed by these things. So apparently it's everybody's favorite fantasy right now. Not mine. I don't like these books, but so I'm really glad Alex took it on to read this one. So in this one, the book starts out with an MMA fight. That's mixed martial arts. Wayne is a young fighter who's winning the fight. Keith is his older coach. He's got a friend there to watch. His friend finds out that he's got pancreatic cancer because he gets a call from his doctor right in the middle of the fight. And then the power goes out. And the three of them now have to escape this arena that's gone pitch black and full of confused people who are all starting to panic. And everyone's freaking out. Nobody's phones work. And Alex says that he thinks these books are like popcorn. You know exactly what you're going to get. Your electronics are all dead. Everyone freaks out. What are you going to do? And if he was in the right mood for this, he'd keep reading. But overall, he says doesn't seem to be any particularly different from any of these other books that he's read. All right. Next, we have a book that Amira read, Girls of Might and Magic, by a whole bunch of many authors, all of whom write about teen and young adult fantasy stories, focusing on characters with disabilities, characters of color, LGBTQ plus characters, and stories of strength and resilience. So, Amira, you read this book. What did you think of it?
I love the idea of this anthology. I read the first short story. I was in there. And it was so wild. The premise is absurd, but it's really really cute. It's really cute. It doesn't entirely make sense. Okay, my favorite part of this story is that the main character is a little girl, and I love little girl characters. So basically, what happens to her is she gets kidnapped. They put her in a cage. When she's kidnapped in that cage, her grandmother starts communicating with her telepathically. She overhears people talking about her. They say that her eyes are this dark green color, which means that she's not human. And they suggest that they might kill her grandmother, and they're gonna, you know, yeah. And then she gets summoned out of her cage. They bring her to an examination room, but not to have an examination. Instead, she just goes there. She sees her grandmother lying on the examination table, knocked out, connected to all these wires. And there's a doctor there who just wants to chat with her. So that's basically what he called her in for. He just wanted to talk to her. And this is like kind of a rude conversation. He's just telling her, hey, little girl, like, you're not human. You might be a werewolf. We did a test on you to see if you're a werewolf, but you're not, but we think that you're something else. You're not a human, little girl. And because you're not human, you don't have any rights anymore. And according to the US government, we can do anything we want to you because you're not a US citizen. And this little girl, her responses are just like, but I am human. Yes, I am. I'm sorry. Absurd. And one of the things that I was wondering as I was reading the story is like, why is this doctor, bullying and taunting this little girl? Like, why did he bring her in there just to like be mean to her? Apparently. And I thought like maybe he's trying to like goad her into using her magical powers, right? Or goad her into like transforming into a werewolf or transforming into something, whatever it is she is. But no, instead, he seems completely like caught off guard when she transforms, because she does transform. Something crazy happens. He seems like he had no idea that that was going to happen. And I'm just like, why are you bullying this little girl who might be a monster, right? So yeah, the ending is crazy. And as I was reading it, I did have trouble suspending my disbelief, right? But was it entertaining? Hell yes, it was very entertaining. So will I be back? Yeah, I'm curious about what else is in this book, and who the other authors are. There's maybe I think there's 11 authors in there. And I do enjoy short stories. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. The next one is the book that I read, The Fairy Guardian by Rachel Morgan. The first of 10 books in the Creepy Hollow teen and young adult sword and sorcery fantasy series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. So it's a fantasy set in a modern day. Violet is 17. She's Fae, and her job is to protect humans from dangerous magical creatures. She's in school studying to be a guardian. She's got a chance to be the best guardian the guild has seen in years, and she's just 2 months away from graduation. And this is one of her last assignments. And in this assignment, it's a cute teenage boy, of course. He's being stalked by some kind of serpent woman monster. Violet fights off the monster who bites her during the struggle. And now the boy can see her. So I don't know if the boy can see her because of the monster's poison or because the boy has powers of his own, but he can see her now. And he's not supposed to see her. So that's a strike against her. Also, she got bit. That's a strike against her too. So she creates a portal to go back home to the Faerie land. And as she steps through the portal, the boy grabs her arm and is pulled in through the portal into the Faerie land. So this is like totally a no-no. Totally is going to ruin her class standing. And she and the boy are called up by the guild, and they order her to take him home on foot, not through a portal, because he might not survive a second trip through a magic portal. And when she gets him home, she'll need to give him a potion so that he'll forget what happened. So it's totally not my thing. I am not a fan of young adult books, or, you know, the whole cute, oh my God, he's so cute, that kind of thing. I have no patience for that. But it's a really fun read, and I won't be sticking with it. But if, say, I was on a vacation in a beach house and this book was on the shelf, I might sit there on the beach and read it. Yeah, it's true. I could do that. All right, next we've got the Ravenglass Chronicles by John Cronshaw. Let me see if I can pull it up on a big size for you guys. Let me try that. There we go. It takes me several tries, even though I've been doing this every week for like, what, months? So here's the box set. But it's a virtual box set. You don't physically get the books. So it's the first 11 books in the Ravenglass teen and young adult historical fantasy series. The next 10 books in the series are usually $6 for the box set, but they're currently on sale for $2. And the entire series is in Kindle Unlimited. So again, the disclaimer, it's a young adult story. I'm not a fan of young adult stories. I have no patience for young adults. And here, Kat, an imperial princess, has just had her first period. Her handmaiden sees the blood and tells Kat's mother, and all of Kat's plans are ruined. So she climbs out the window, goes along the ledge, down 2 floors, jumps to the roof of the servants' quarters, taps on the window of one of the boys who lives there, Hansel, of course. She's got a friend who's a cute boy. And she whines and complains to him about how hard her life is. And he's basically like, yeah, sure. And she's like, but I'm going to have to marry somebody I don't even know, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I have no patience for this. Her mother sends a talking wyvern, you know, one of those bird things, to come and fetch her back. Kat learns that there's going to be a ceremony that she has to go to, and she's going to have to sacrifice something that's important to her. So they take away a toy dog. That's the only thing she has left of her father. So she's really pissed about this. She loves this toy dog. So she sneaks out in the middle of the night and steals the dog back. And then, like an idiot, she hides it in her room, where her mother's servants almost immediately find it. So she's whiny and she's not very smart. I'm not going to keep reading, but I do have to say that if you do like this kind of story, it moves along pretty quickly and is extremely readable. All right, next we have The Pawn in the Night by Skye Warren. This is the second time this book is on this list, at least. I think Skye Warren's been on this list before too. I'm not sure. You can the explanation will be in the story. So this is a box set of the first of 3 books in the Endgame romantic trilogy. The third book, The Castle, is $5. And is not in Kindle Unlimited. So the book reminds me a little bit of 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm not the target audience for that book either. I couldn't get past the first few pages of it. So here in this book, Avery's father has just been convicted of fraud. She needs to figure out a way to pay his creditors and to pay for his medical care. She turns to the richest man in the city for help, and she's only got one thing to offer: her virginity, which this rich guy is going to auction off. And so all of this creeps me out. I don't know when the sci-fi or fantasy part will kick in, or if it's just one of those like fairy tale retelling kind of situations where it's fantasy adjacent. But it's not my kind of book in any way, shape, or form. I did not enjoy the part of it that I read, but plenty of people did. Both of the books in this box set made the USA Today bestseller list. So this is your chance to get them for free, if that is your kind of thing. Okay, next we have Eden by Darcy Rose, which is another book that I read. The first of 4 books in the Sacred Hill Rejects romance series. The other books are $1 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. So again, my usual disclaimer, it's a young adult book. I hate young adults. It's also romance. Not a fan of romance. It also has werewolves in it. I don't like werewolves. And I particularly don't like stories about destined mates and werewolves that are alphas and betas. There's no such thing as alpha wolves. I am so sick of that trope. I can't even explain how sick of it I am. But I know other people like all this stuff. So take what I'm saying with a big grain of salt. So what happened here is that Eden is 18. Her parents died a few years ago, and she's been placed in a new home with foster guardians. She's half human, half werewolf, and basically nobody wants her. Her foster guardians are really annoyed that they have to take care of her. She gets bullied at school for being half human. Her only friend at school is a witch. And now she's turning 18, and when people turn 18 in this world and they're werewolves, they get a huge celebration, and they find their true mate, if their true mate is already over 18, which often it is if your true mate's older than you. So her first foster parents are sick of having to spend time and money on her. So they throw her the minimum party that they can get away with. And a few people do show up, including the alpha of the pack and his family. It kind of is more like a funeral than a birthday party. Nobody talks to her. She can't wait for it to be over. It's not like she's going to find a mate. She can't even shift into a wolf because she's only half werewolf. And then right before midnight, the magic happens. She suddenly feels complete, whole, peaceful, like she belongs. She hasn't felt this way since her parents died. And then someone says, mine. And it's her mate. And her mate is the son of the alpha wolf, Paxton. But nobody can believe it. Paxton's parents don't believe it. Nobody at the party believes it. Paxton himself doesn't believe it. Everybody thinks that she had her friend the witch cast a spell. So he rejects her right there in front of everybody, and she runs away. She's humiliated and crying and really upset. And outside, as she's running away, she shifts into her wolf form. So apparently she can shift. So the pack rounds her up, gives her a truth potion, asks her whether she had a spell cast. She says she didn't, but she adds that she doesn't want anything to do with this pack. She's heading out. She doesn't care how hard it's going to be for her as a lone wolf. She just wants to get out of there. And she's just going to go. But it's billed as a romance. So I know that she and Paxton are eventually going to get back together again. And so I really don't want to keep reading. I don't want her to get back together with a jerk. He's a jerk. And and the whole pack is jerks. She's better off without them. So and I know it's really hard for foster kids when they come right out of the foster care system, but it sounds like anything would be better than these guys, frankly. So I'm not going to keep reading. But if you like this kind of thing, the book is free. Then I read this next book, Cleaver's Edge by Actus. And it's the first of 3 books in the Morkster Chef lit RPG fantasy adventure series. The sequel, Into the Fire, is $5 and it Kindle Unlimited. And the 3rd book is coming out in December. So I love lit RPG. It's my favorite genre. In fact, I just have my 3rd book just hit Amazon today, and it's lit RPG adjacent-ish. It's set in a virtual world too, called Crib Deeds. I'll have the link in the description box down below. So anyway, so I was really looking forward to reading this book. The cover looks like it will be a fun read. And it was a fun read. So the story here is that Eric is an ogre in a world in which ogres are typically monsters who have to be killed, but he's not. He seems to be a good guy. He can talk like a human, and he's a really good cook. And he joins up with a group of human adventurers, because he's such a good cook. He's an amazing cook. And he goes with them on their adventures. Like they go into fight their way through a dungeon and, fight some goblins and all that kind of thing. Eric also has a mysterious past and a secret mission he doesn't want to talk about. It is a fun read. It's not serious at all. Yes, the characters are one-dimensional. There's no depth to the story that I could see. Although I'm only a third of the way of the book. I'm only a third of the way into the book, so some depth might still happen. But, I don't expect it to. And if it doesn't, I'm totally fine with it. When I read lit RPG, I'm not looking for deep metaphors and social commentary. I'm looking for a fun romp through a fantasy world. And with this book, that's exactly what you get. I'm definitely going to finish this one, and I've already downloaded the 2nd book in the series. And Actus, if you're watching this, I'd love to have you on the show. And one more book left. Okay. Being Jewish in 2025 New York City, The Dystopian Nightmare by Bert Murray. And here's the cover behind me. And they did a really bad job with the cover. You cannot read the title on it or the author's name. So that's a bad sign right there. It's the first of 3 books in a dystopian political thriller series. The 2nd book is also free today. The 3rd book is $5, and all 3 books are in Kindle Unlimited. And so I read this, and I did not like it. So I believe it was originally published as an episodic novel. So it's kind of choppy and short little chapters, which is how I write too. So I'm not, that's not a problem. The problem is how over the top heavy-handed it is. So it's 2025 New York City, and a year ago there's been a civil war, and the radicals took over. And the radicals are against all religion, both Christianity and Judaism. And they're banning books and banning Christmas trees and all this other stuff. And despite the fact that they've just had a civil war, this guy, David Stein, is totally self-involved. He just broke up with his girlfriend 2 months ago. So he's found a new apartment. He has a new puppy. He's been doing online dating. And dating, he just hasn't been the same since the new government took over. The New York City Department of Health now has to approve all online matches. and he meets this woman named Sue, who is just fired from teaching position for asking her students to read George Orwell's 1984. So this is like I said, way over the top, very politically heavy-handed, and I'm not going to keep reading. First of all, we're already living in a weird political dystopia, so I don't want to have more of it in the fiction that I'm reading. And also, the main character seems totally oblivious of what's going on, and I didn't really find him particularly sympathetic. So, but if you do, the ebook is free, and the link is down below in the description box. All right, and those were our 10 books today. Let us know if you've read them. Comment in the comments below, or visit the website. You can leave a comment there. Let me know what you think of it, or if there's other books you want us to check out. And before I go, I also want to thank our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thanks to you, we're able to do this. And all the money that we collect goes to pay science fiction and fantasy authors who write original fiction. And our spring submission period just closed, so keep an eye out on the website. We're going to be publishing the stories soon, and all the authors should be getting notifications of whether we've accepted their stories or not this week or next couple of days. So yeah, so thank you to our donors. All right, so what are you going to do this weekend, Amira? You going to read any of these books?
I mean, probably. I think I'm probably gonna come back, because both books I read were pretty good. They both had pros and cons. So yeah, how about you?
Well, I'm definitely gonna read the Lit RPG book, but I'm also gonna read another book left over from a couple of weeks ago, because the author is gonna come on our show to talk about it. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to be posting an interview with the author. So apparently authors do watch the show. It's so cool. So, if you disagree with something that we said about your book, come on the show, talk to us about it. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Amira, for taking the time today. And thanks everybody for watching. If you like this kind of content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all that usual stuff. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.